Take the wet cloth to your corner booth. The wood is still warm from your heavy coat. Smudge of black printer ink on the saucer rim, where your thumb pressed the daily news. 3 spilled sugar crystals by the spoon. I sweep them right into my palm. Almost asked what your book was about, but I kept my mouth shut. Just poured the ice water and let you read. The cup still holds the ghost of your hands. The chair keeps the hollow of your spine. I stack the brass coins by the edge of the tray. I take my time, breathing the cedar you left behind. A damp puddle spreading on the floorboards. Your black umbrella dripping on the tile. Tracing the weather you just walked into. You're out there pulling your collar high, out there in the freezing rain. Drying out in my fist, staring down the avenue, watching a gray sleeve vanish in the crowd. The wood finally goes cold.
7:20, the heavy doors close. You turn a plain silver ring on your thumb. I fold this yellow ticket right down the line, tracing the paper until it goes numb. The carriage is swaying us shoulder to shoulder, though 3 rows of strangers are standing between. I grip the worn handrail, a silent beholder, to hold you right here, to anchor the scene. You're already resting, perfectly fine. I'd offer my seat just to hear you decline. My knuckles go white on this cold metal bar. I study the floor map, I stay where we are. The carriage is swaying us shoulder to shoulder, though 3 rows of strangers are standing between. I grip the worn handrail, a silent beholder, to hold you right here, to anchor the scene. start to scream at the end of the line. You button your collar and step to the right. I walk to the stairs without making a sign. A crumpled yellow ticket shoved in my coat. 15 minutes stuck in my throat.
Gas heater stays cold. Frost on the glass, but the blue flame hisses too loud. 10 past midnight. The mantel clock ticks, catching the strike of his heel. 2 paces left, 3 paces back to the bed. Pine flexes under a rug I can't see. Dust motes fall like grey snow on my coat. Caught in the amber glow, I know when he pours his tea. I know when he stands at the glass. Swept the kitchen twice, staring straight up at the crack in the plaster seam. Holding the broom, my knuckles go white, measuring the distance up. I lean it on the wall, I breathe out. Old pine flexes under a life I can't see. Dust motes fall like grey snow on my chair. Caught in the amber glow, I know when he stops to read. I know when he turns off the lamp. Pacing stops. It's just the mantel clock now. I close my eyes in the dark, under the same old wood.
Your thumb pressed down right here, page 42. A sharp little fold in the paper. I rubbed the crease against the oak desk. Heavy you pressed heavy here. You held your breath on this line. The spine gives a terrible crack. It always does. That sour smell of old paper glue sticking to the cuffs of my shirt, tracing your blue return date right beside our faded library stamp. I cut a square of clean white card, the exact shape of a bookmark. My pen sits wet on the blotter, just 3 words tucked into the seam, right where you'd see them tomorrow. I crush the blank square in my fist. I slam the cover on your fingerprints. I lock away the corner that you bend. I climb the iron ladder to the highest shelf, shove the boards between 2 others, where the dust chokes the leather, where the spine turns away in the dark. I leave you up there, safe from my hands. Page 42, smooth and flat, just a book on a shelf.
Smells like wet earth and copper in here. The shears bite clean through the heavy stems. 3 dozen red for the 4:30. I strip the leaves down to the bare stalk. You like them tall, you told me last week. Sprigs of white to fill up the gaps. Pull the silk ribbon as tight as a snare. I trim the rot so you look like a king. I tie the knot, I smooth my hair. 1 snapped thorn left on the cutting block, sharp little tooth pointing straight at the roof. Hover my thumb right over the point, could push down hard, could draw it out. 1 single drop on a white petal, just to sign the work, let her know I was here. I pull my hand back, I wipe the block clean. Sprigs of white to fill up the gaps. Wrap the damp brown paper around the base. Drinks up the water, soaks up the spill. Hides the dark stems so you leave no trace. Tie the knot, I arrange my face. The door chimes open, the street rushes in. You shake the rain from your good wool coat. I swallow the gravel down my throat. I hold the red up against my chest. I shield the flowers between you and me. They're stunning, you say. You don't even see. Have a lovely evening, monsieur. The damp paper leaves a chill on my skin. discarded leaves in the bin.
Bells stopped swinging an hour ago. I rubbed my thumb down the blue canopy. Snapped metal spoke. Bent backward, a sharp little flaw. It caught on her glove when she passed it across. The heavy smell of canvas waterproofing pushed deep in my fingernails, covers the perfume she left in the room. White chalk mark on the fabric, right where the new thread has to go. It sits on the blue like a hand on a shoulder. The dusty white cross the tap water will erase, just like the face of the guy at the counter. My pliers close on the brass at the center. If I drop my wrist to the left, I could loosen another hinge. Just a hair, just enough to give out by Tuesday. Make sure the bell on my door rings again. I hold the screwdriver perfectly still. I drive the pin straight. White chalk mark on the fabric, right where the new thread has to go. It sits on the blue like a hand on a shoulder. A dusty white cross the tap water will erase, just like the face of the guy at the counter. The skeleton opens taut and smooth. I collapse it, I push it open again. The blue pulls tight across the ribs, not a single gap left in the tension. The snapped metal spoke is buried in seam tape. The canvas waterproofing sits on my tongue. I fold the fabric, I snap the little brass button, and I set it gently on the workbench.
Snow melting on the double doors. You shake the wet from the heavy wool. I slip the hanger through the collar. Breast token number 7 hits the counter. I brush the damp from the left shoulder. My thumb catches the frayed pocket lining. Threads pulling loose where you force your hands. A quiet ruin only I get to find. Behind the velvet muffled orchestra tuning, all the grand drama happens in the dark. I stay out here in the draft from the street, watching the empty hallway. I lean my chin toward the collar, stop just short of the dark grey wool. Footsteps echo at the end of the hall. I step back, smooth my apron down. 2 hours until the curtain falls. 2 hours guarding this borrowed weight. You have the brass piece in your pocket, I have the empty sleeve against my arm. Section rises through the wall. Number 7. Just a draft from the door. Just a coat in a row.
On the factory clock, I do the rounds, I check the luck. That street lamp halogen flickers and dies, sputters back on, burning my eyes. 3rd floor window glows pale white. I lean my weight on the rusted pipe. Right on time you cross the pane, silhouette without a name. You pour a cup, you turn your head. I sip the freezing air instead, just a smudge of charcoal grey, keeping the winter night at bay. Hear that pharmacy neon buzz, spitting pink on the factory dust. I could wave my flashlight at your window glass, watch you flinch, watch the shadow pass. But that breaks the only string we share. Better to stand here unaware. Right on time you cross the pane, silhouette without a name. You pour a cup, you turn your head. I sip the freezing air instead, just a smudge of charcoal grey, keeping the winter night at bay. Amber glow clicks off at last, empty square of frosted glass. I drop my chin, the shift moves on. My imaginary guest is gone. Motor oil puddle reflecting my boot, just a guard in a nylon suit. I pull my collar past my cheek, the rubber soles begin to squeak. Jingling keys down see you tomorrow. Same time, same gray. Same gray.
You slide the coins across the rubber mat. 2 silver pieces and a copper dime. I scan the foil blister pack of aspirin. It rattles, keeping hollow time. The harsh fluorescent catches in your eyes. I lean against the cold glass of the display case. My breath leaves sudden halos on the pane. You pull your collar up a little higher, dripping with the autumn rain. My hand is hovering by the till. I only have to cross this line, to press 2 fingers to your wrist, to read the heat beneath your skin. But I pull back and breathe it in. I ring the total on the screen. I drop the tablets in the dark. A paper pharmacy bag to hold the weight. I fold the edges, press them sharp and flat, and hand you back your quiet fate. Good evening, sir, is all I say. You nod, you turn away. The little bell above the frame. I watch the glass door close against the street, and wipe the counter where we meet.
Wet stone steps en rue de la Verrerie. Know every crack in this pavement by heart. Thumbing through the morning stack, gas bills, bakery flyers, just sorting out the neighborhood. I'm just the ghost at your door, bringing the world, ringing the bell. You smile at the dark ink, you don't see the hands that carry it. A blue airmail envelope today, papers so thin. The morning sun is cutting right across the courtyard. My thumb slips under the sealed flap. I freeze. Shove it deep into the bottom of the stack. I'm just the ghost at your door, leaving his words ringing the bell. You smile at the dark ink. You don't see the hands that carry it. Slide it through the brass slot. The squeaking hinge of the mailbox cries out, snapping shut on his promises, and it locks me out. Back down the wet stone steps, next building waiting. Raindrops on the leather satchel, sinking into the hide. Nothing left to deliver here.
You pace the rug in heavy shoes. Dear sirs, you mutter to the glass. I catch the breath you lightly lose and trap it in the carriage brass. This key's rubbed completely bare. I wore it down to match your speed. I strike it fast, I leave it there. Whatever you might need. Every vowel is a stone I swallow. Every consonant a map I trace. Down the margin where I safely follow, never looking at your face. The sharp bell cuts the heavy air. I push the lever, pull it back to place. A blue stain on my second joint, from sliding carbon down the tray. The copy keeps the shadow point of every bill they have to pay. Yours faithfully you turn unseen. My fingers hover by the J. One tap could spell out Josephine. I look the other way. Every vowel is a stone I swallow. Every consonant a map I trace. Down the margin where I safely follow, never looking at your face. The sharp bell cuts the heavy air. I push the lever, pull it back to place. You sign your name across the sheet. I sit and stare into the black. The worn downs looks incomplete, with nothing left to pull it back. paper, slip it in. The dark ink settles in the grain. I stack the carbons in the bin and wait for you again.
The air in here cost more than I breathe. Smell of aged mahogany, cold polished floors. Rusted tuning pin fights my wrench. I lean all my weight on the steel. It complains, then it gives to the turn. I lock in the tension, you steal. Deep in the belly where nobody looks, a velvet-lined felt hammer striking the strings. It hits in the dark, out of sight. You'll never lean down in the wound. Expect it to sound like it should. I bleed my thumb to make it right. When you sit down tonight in your silk, the keys will just yield to your skin. You'll look at the name on the brass. You won't feel the sweat I left in. My hands rest a beat on the ivory edge. I could play a full romantic sonata right here. Let the notes wash all over the glass. But my coat is too cheap, I'm a ghost in the trade. I pull back, let the moment pass. I pack up the wrench in the case. I wipe my own fingerprints free. The wire holds the grip of my hands. You'll never know it was me.
Pink neon bleeds on the smudge of the glass. I sit in the booth and I watch the cars pass. Stale popcorn butter coats the back of my throat. I button the collar on this maroon coat. The projector motor hums through the plaster behind, spinning out lives that I'll never find. 8:45, your shadow falls long. You slide down your coins like a familiar song. know the exact ridge where your ticket will tear. I push the red half through the gap, leave it there. Your fingers touch cardboard, you nod and you turn. 5 seconds are over, the filaments burn. The celluloid rolls in the dark down the hall, while I sit in a box built into the wall. I ration out Friday in 5-second beats, while you watch the lovers on silver screen streets. My hand on the roll, the coins on the tray. I could push back the silver, look the other way. I could leave the coins there, let you walk right on through. But you'd tilt your head, you'd ask me what for, and my mouth would go dry, I'd stare at the floor. So I tear it in two, and the moment is through. The motor drones on 50 frames to the beat. You're sitting alone in a red velvet seat, and I'm trapped in the tick of the lobby clock, waiting for doors to unlock. I fold the torn paper, I put it away. I lock up the till, I wipe down the glass, and turn to the empty lobby.
Midnight on the avenue. The streetlight cuts across the floorboards. I smooth the velvet collar down. My thumb rests against a cold fiberglass neck. No pulse under the resin. I tilt the chin up, just a fraction. The way she looks at the delivery boy. Blue chalk outlines on the gabardine, drafting a shape I'll cut away by dawn. I hold 12 silver sewing pins between my teeth, biting down on the metal, tasting copper, keeping my jaw shut tight. If I open my mouth, they all spill out. Pull the waist tight, pin the dot, fold the seam, make the posture perfect, make it breathe. I drape the heavy wool over the hollow shoulders. I know the exact slope of her spine. I build her ghost in the glass box every night. I have a silk carnation in my palm, scrap material from Tuesday's display. My hand hovers over the left tweed pocket, leave it there. Let her find it at 8 a.m. My fingers open. It drops into the dust and thread clippings. She'd only sweep it out with the lint. Pull the waist tight, pin the dart, fold the seam. Make the posture perfect, make it breathe. I drape the heavy wool over the hollow shoulders. I know the exact slope of her spine. I build her ghost in the glass box every night. Out onto the freezing pavement, breath turning to smoke. I turn up my own collar, look back through the window. Just a mannequin under a spotlight, and a blue chalk ghost staring back.
Tuesday afternoon, the tourists thin out. Just shifting my weight on the hardwood. Echoing squeak of rubber soles down the hall. You unpack your tin by the northern light. My hand rests on the scuffed brass stanchion, keeping the required 15 feet. Behind you hangs a chipped gold frame. Centuries of oil drying in the dark. They pay at the door for dead men's canvas. I just watch the grey dust settle on your coat, guarding a room that doesn't need me. The heavy velvet rope sags between us, knuckles white on the scuffed brass tension. I lean forward by barely half an inch, trying to catch the angle of your wrist. I drop my hands back down to my sides, smooth out the crease in my uniform. Behind you hangs that chipped gold frame. Centuries of oil drying in the dark. They pay to secure the dead man's canvas. I just watch the grey dust settle on your coat, guarding a room that doesn't need me. a smudge off the scuffed brass tension, looking straight ahead at the exit, until Tuesday comes back around.
Cobblestones freeze, steam from the exhaust vent gets lost in the breeze, warmth bleeding out to a street without eyes, just keeping the fires till the sun starts to rise. I straighten the rows in the glow of the glass and count down the minutes till shadows will pass. A dusting of white on my apron right here to prove I was working before you appear. A fresh blister shines on the pad of my thumb. The brick was too angry, my knuckles are numb, but stone has to hold at 400 degrees for layers of butter to fold as they please. I straighten the rows in the glow of the glass and count down the minutes till shadows will pass. A dusting of white on my apron right here to prove I was working before you appeared. The bell on the door gives a shivering ring. You dig in your coat for the copper you bring. I swallow the words that it's on me today. You'd stare at the counter and pull it away. You'd stiffen your shoulders and look for a dime. So I take the money, the same every time. You murmur your thanks almost half in a dream. You step back outside in the cold and the steam. I stare at the silver you dropped on the till, wiping flurry hands on a towel, keeping still. The window is fogged. The city is wide.
Fingers walking through the B-side bins, musty breath of 50-year-old cardboard. You don't look up from the jazz imports. I pick out the dead men who know how to bleed and stack them up on the rubber mat. The needle catches the outer groove. That split-second hiss before the ghosts wake up. I let them confess what I won't breathe out. They tear their chests open across the room, while I just wipe down the glass. My thumb picks at the price tag glue. Sticky yellow ring on the acetate cover. I could wire the main speakers, spin the heaviest ballad we own, and stare at you across the racks. Keep my eyes on the register tape instead. The needle catches the outer groove. That split-second hiss before the ghosts wake up. I let them confess what I won't breathe out. They tear their chests open across the room, while I just wipe down the glass. Straight into a plastic bag. 7 francs to make you look at me. You hand me the exact change. Not even a glance at the cover. I lean all my weight on this hollow. Table hits the centering. Just the static, just the dust.
Grey rain on the stones. A gentleman's shoe steps up on the wood. Mud dried thick on the trouser cuff. I pry the tin, it breathes out turpentine. The wax gets deep in the lines of my thumb. I work the paste in circles and heat. The dull calfskin drinks it down, turns to glass. And there you are, waiting by the awning across the street, trapped perfectly inside the left toe cap. I keep my chin locked to the damp concrete. If I tilt my head, he'll pull his heel away. So I watch your coat shiver in the dark leather, safe in a mirror of polish and rain. My hands are too black to hold your umbrella. I pull the cotton rag taut, snap, snap, the fabric cracks the air. just to cover up the seconds that I stare. You shift your weight, the reflection bends. Not a single drop of city on your hem. I keep my chin locked to the damp concrete. If I tilt my head, he'll pull his heel away. So I watch your coat shiver in the dark leather, safe in a mirror of polish and rain. My hands are too black to hold your umbrella. He taps his cane. 2 copper coins drop heavy in my box. The shoe steps down. The wingtip walks you down the avenue. Just the smell of the wax left.
You slide the brass across the scratched oak desk. Room 12A, heavy, tarnished crest, worn down by 100 thumbs before yours. None of them matter, I settle the score. Cash or credit, monsieur, my voice is dry. You hand me paper, you don't catch my eye. The fluorescent tube hums, flickers white and mean, washes out the morning, strips the lobby clean. Your signature sits on the dotted line, next to your street name, a city A sign. I force my eyes up, I don't read the rest. The heavy leather ledger swallows another night. Ink dries black in the terrible light. You button your coat against the November chill. I stamp the receipt, I empty the till. By noon, you're just pavement, a ghost in the square. And this binding holds the only proof you were there. The glass door swings, a sharp brass ring, footsteps on stone, a fleeting thing. I stack the silver coins, I align my pen, breathe in the faint smoke you carried in. It fades to nothing, the dust settles down. You're already halfway across the town. The fluorescent tube hums, flickers white and mean, washes out the morning, strips the lobby clean. Your signature sits on the dotted line, next to your street name, a city A sign. I force my eyes up, I don't read the rest. The heavy leather ledger swallows another night. Ink dries black in the terrible light. You button your coat against the November chill. I stamp the receipt, I empty the till. By noon, you're just pavement, a ghost in the square. And this binding holds the only proof you were there. badger sits cold on the stand. I reach for the corner with a steady hand. Smooth out the paper, quiet and slow. Turn the heavy page, let the ink go.
"38 across the shoulder. Breathe in, monsieur. The worsted wool scrapes dry against my thumb. A heavy weaver winter weight. You watch the street below, you watch the rain. I watch the numbers on the yellow tape. Down on the floorboards to find the hem. You stand like a marble statue in the square. The shot of white chalk between my fingers. It snaps, dust settles on my palm. A temporary line, a mark that washes out. I pull the ribbon tight around your chest. You exhale out into the space above my head. One steel pin rests between my lips. If I drove it deep into the sea, just to hear you gasp, just to see you blink. I only smooth the lapel. I release the tape. I step back into the shadow of the bolts. My silver thimble catches the gray light. Cold metal cap, not a thing gets through. You may turn around, monsieur. We are entirely done.
Pull the lattice shut across the track. You shift your damp wool coat aside. 60 seconds in this walnut box. I breathe the little air you hide. My heels stay planted on the worn red rose, woven in the carpet where I stand. I trace your shadow on the paneling, just inches from your quiet hand. The greased steel cable starts to squeal. We tremble in the dusty shaft. You watch the door, I watch your hands. I memorize your sudden draft. Brass dial sweeps past number 3, 4, 5, The needle steals our light. My fingers curl around the heavy switch. I could halt the motor in the night. Leave us hanging in the quiet dark, suspended in the middle of the wall. But you would panic at the sudden hush, and I would lose my place inside this hall. The greased steel cable starts to squeal. We tremble in the dusty shaft. You watch the door, I watch your hands. I memorize your sudden draft. The needle clicks at number 8. I slide the heavy grate apart. Floor 8, monsieur, I calmly say, just an even voice above my heart.
The final chord bleeds out into the yellow line. The sudden draft of air from the passing train. It knocks the sheet music down into the drain. I let the E string rattle to a grind. I stare at heavy coats that hurry to the street. The platform tiles are empty at my feet. The station empties out again. These calloused fingertips are turning white. I split the blisters for a heavy coat that never walked beneath this station light. A single copper franc resting on the velvet lining. Some passing stranger tossed it in the evening crush. I wiped the tarnish off, you always kept yours clean. I'd leave the open guitar case out all night, just in case you happened to walk by late. But I scrape up the franc. The baker closes his gate. The station empties out again. These calloused fingertips are turning white. I split the blisters for a heavy coat that never walked beneath this station light. I grab the wooden neck, I snap the brass, I kick the metal stand against the wall. The tunnel swallows every drop of sweat. You never took this subway line at all. Walking up the tiled stairs, the copper freezing in my fist, the city breeze, the velvet sleeps. I joined the dark.
Thumb against the fogged up glass. You're just a shape behind the breath. Headlights idle in my lane. I slide the heavy window back. Quarters clatter in the dish. One clear drop trembling by the dimes. Burnt oil and diesel slip inside. I swallow the highway in my throat. Got the receipt in my fingers. You reach out into the draft. I pinch the paper tight. I just hold it. This piece of paper buys 1 second of your skin. Your jaw locks up. You snatch it from my grip. Engine revs against the concrete, tires staring at the salt. I drag the heavy window shut, trapping your smoke inside with me. Twin red lights fading past the bridge. A drop of water dries on the steel.
Picking at peeling green paint on the park bench. 3 hours mapping out a single ledge. Tourists think I'm sketching out the street. Thumb rubbing down the rough paper's edge. Third balcony up the wrought iron vine. I draw the curves to justify my stay. Tracing over the very same line. Watching the curtains, looking away. Just a charcoal smudge on the edge of the paper. My hand slipped when the glass caught the light. Hear the wind rustling the bare elm branches. Not a single perfect arch drawn right. Third balcony up the wrought iron vine. I draw the curves to justify the cold. Tracing over the very same line. Waiting for a shadow to unfold. I should yell her name from the street below. Throw my head back, shatter the gray sky. but I don't have a single name to throw. So I sit here letting cabs roll by. Close the cardboard cover, snap the elastic band, turn my collar up against the gray. Just a student of the city, calling it a day.
City's a ghost in the double glass. I ease the master slider down to the floor. Leave the grey dust on the fader knobs. Let it settle. Let the rest of the room sleep. Just this glowing red on air indicator light burning through the smoke. A wire of neon pulling over the roofs. Finding whatever room you haunt tonight. I breathe out, send the absolute silence straight to your pillow. 3:30. Only sound is right above my head. The sizzle of a burning studio bulb. Filament frying down to nothing. I know the feeling. Let it burn out alone. Got the next track cued. Mouth an inch from the grill. 4 little words. Just aim the whole tower straight at your chest. I open the channel. I close it back up. Drop the needle on the wax instead. Nothing left but the hum. I lean back in the leather chair, staring at the spinning tape reel, round and round, spooling empty air. Hmm.